ECU?
Do you bleed purple and gold?
Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Watch the show live on Facebook
And at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday, June 3rd edition of the program. We got a lot to get into as we take the air. Some ECU baseball players have entered the transfer portal. We'll get into that here in a minute. Also excited about today's show because we are going to dive into our ECU football opponent previews. We're going to start that with a look at the NC State Wolfpack, as Corey Smith from Pack Pride will join us. So looking forward to that on the back half of the show. And, of course, we recap the regional yesterday. We did that again on the Bucks on the Pond podcast last night, so check that out. That's on the Hoist the Colors podcast channel. We dove further into it. Talked about the weekend that was. But today we'll start to turn the page towards the future. And we'll get into some of the big news from the transfer portal, talk about the projected roster going into next year, and a lot more there. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Also can download the IBX Media app to get the replays of the show as well. If you got a question, a comment, or a concern, let us know. We only have till July 1st until the transfer portal closes, so we'll continue on every day with potential concerns, as that's the college sports world we live in. And Philip Pilkington producing today's show. Philip, how you doing on this glorious Tuesday?
I was doing good until you put 2026 in the title. Man, we're not even fully halfway through 2025, and you're already wishing the year away. I still haven't even made my summer vacation trip, and you're trying to skip Christmas and all of it. Come on, Igo.
Hey, man, it's never too early to look ahead. And I have found over the years that immediately following a season that people they want to digest what just happened, and then they immediately want to look into the crystal ball. And so we're going to do that as best as we can, and we'll continue these conversations based on how the roster changes in the weeks, months ahead. But the big news as we take the air is that Lance Williams is entering the transfer portal. ECU pitcher, starting pitcher, part-time reliever, however you want to phrase it. Now, I called you pre-show, Philip, about an hour and a half ago, and I was like, all right, I'm hearing Lance is likely going to enter the portal. It's not official yet. And, full disclosure, we're going to do our roster rundown here in a minute of key guys you can't lose. And I would say Lance is not at the top of that list, the very top, but certainly he was on the list. Maybe not can't lose, but don't want to lose is the better way to phrase it. And so we were going to talk about him, but here he is in the portal. And I would say he's your first significant loss. And I've been asked, who is ECU going to lose that they don't want to lose? And I always say they'll lose at least one. And hopefully Lance is the only one. I do know there's a lot more conversations out there, with agents, advisors, teams, working back channels trying to get ECU players in the portal, just like with every successful team. It's a crappy business right now, but this is what it is. And not a surprise, but certainly a disappointment Lance Williams moves on, Philip.
It is, and, he came on so well there at the end of the year. I mean, he had a solid start to the season for a freshman, but it really seemed like he came into his own. And when you look at past pitchers who have similar success in a Pirate uniform as that he had throughout their rookie or their freshman season, where they came on strong at the end, and then you look at their sophomore season, some of the names that come to mind, Trey Savage, Zach Root, there's a few others as well. And I think that's the frustrating part about this situation. Lance could have came out and been the same pitcher that he was this past year, which is a really good piece to have on your baseball roster for any college baseball club, when he was throwing strikes, of course. But what's the what-if situation is going to be with Lance Williams is going to come into, could he have evolved into a great pitcher? And I'm not saying he was going to go out there and be the 24th overall pick in the NLB draft like Trey Savage was, or go as high as Zach Root's going to go this year. But still, could he have had a Jake Kuchmaner esque career? Could he have had a Garrett Saylor-esque career? And those guys you were very fortunate to have for 4 years, and you were hoping Lance was going to be that. And unfortunately, he's gone. But the fortunate thing is there's plenty of those guys throughout college baseball. Now you just got to go find a guy just like him.
I agree with a lot of what you said. This feels premature, and look, it is. I was texting with some guys this morning. It's tough for the young men in these situations because you've got all these people in their ears and telling them certain things, telling their parents certain things, their family, and it's hard to know what to trust. But it just feels premature. If I'm Lance Williams, you just had a tremendous outing, which may have played a role in this. But, like, you had a very up-and-down season, and I love Lance's stuff. I think he has borderline elite stuff with the fastball and the slider, just moves all over the place. But, like, he's got serious command issues. He's got some things that he's got to clean up. And, maybe he finds the answers to those things consistency-wise at his next stop. And maybe he believes in that. Like you said, he can make a leap somewhere else. But I just feel like his best chance to make a leap was to come back at ECU in a familiar environment with people you trust and a situation you're familiar with and try that way. And then, hey, if you go dominate the world next year like a Zach Root did, then you make a leap. It just feels a year too early for Lance. But, look, I'm not going to wish any kid or person ill will. Best of luck to him. We did interview him after the game Saturday, and he seemed composed and I don't know, or I guess Sunday, I should say, after the elimination game. Little did we know that would be the last time we talked to him in a Pirate uniform. This stuff is so bizarre, man, but this is college sports. All right, so these are the players that have entered the portal for ECU thus far. Again, none of them are a surprise except for, I would say, Lance Williams. Now, Ian White just entered the portal, a guy who started the year with some high hopes, but not surprised at this one at all, as he didn't pitch after the UAB series, which feels like 14 years ago. I heard there was some stuff that went on when he was pulled from the game and, has not pitched since April 19th, and he was healthy. So not a surprise to see him entering the portal. I do think he's got a shot, and I don't blame him for leaving either. He's a guy who can develop and – got good stuff. It just didn't seem like it meshed well here. Lance Williams, Keenan Bowman, who announced a while ago, Michael Irby, who announced a while ago, Neil Griffin, freshman infielder, Jason Janesco, Dawson Kerr, Tyler Brashear, Trevor Jackson, and Jaden Winter. And then Drew Downs. I don't know if he's in the portal or not, but he has left the team. So those are your departures as guys who have left or are in the transfer portal. So no big surprises. And it is hold your breath season. I just know that there's a lot of discussions out there from other advisors, team personnel trying to get these guys into the portal again their years. So ECU doing what it can to keep them, but it's just a mess right now, as you can see across college sports. All right, Philip, as we look into the crystal ball for 2026, I think we're all very excited about the possibilities. Again, we'll see what happens with the portal. And I guess how we'll do this is we're going to assume Dixon Williams and Ethan Young are gone because they're both draft eligible. I don't see a scenario where they don't return right now, barring something crazy. So we're going to assume they're gone. We're looking at guys we don't want to see enter the portal or leave the program otherwise. Now, Brad Pruitt is draft eligible due to age, but we'll assume right now he's back, so we can include him in this conversation as well. So we're going to rank – we'll just go down the list, and we'll go back and forth as – who are the number one guys? If you're ECU, you want to keep this core intact. So I'll let you start it off. If you could pick any one player on this roster as currently constructed to 100% keep, lock him in right now, like who would that guy be for 2026?
Yeah, this can be a hot take, I think, because a lot of people, want to keep pitching. If you don't have pitching, you can't be competitive. But I think you need a team captain. You need the next Riley Johnson. And we already have that guy. His name is Braden Burris. The older players, I think, looked up to Braden Burris at the end of the year. This is a guy who fits the culture here, who is a talented athlete, who can play a multitude of positions, and is a guy who wants to win, and he wants to win in the purple and gold. like I said, I know you want the ace, so I know a lot of people are probably going to say Ethan Norby, but at the end of the day, I think maybe sometimes pitching depth is more important than 1 star or 2 stars in pitching. You see that throughout these lengthy tournaments, and at the end of the day, you need a guy that you can lean on in every situation, on and off the field. Braden Burris is that guy.
Braden Burris, a definitely great pick. I mean, I would have gone Braden as well, number 1 overall. I mean, just batting average, position versatility, spark plug, emerged, as you said, as a leader, can steal bases. He walked more than he struck out. He just brings so much to the lineup. By the way, Braden will join us, is scheduled to join us next Monday on the show. We'll get some of these guys in this offseason. So glad to continue our relationship with Braden. So I'm gonna go with the obvious second pick, Ethan Norby. I think at this point he's proven he can be a Friday night guy. I mean, you don't go out there against Charlotte and dominate like he did if you don't have Friday night stuff. Look, could we use him? Or would he like to see him in the bullpen more and like kind of as that swing guy? I still think ultimately that would be his best role, but like I think you bring him back as the Friday guy. You bring him back as a key piece of your rotation, unless your rotation just takes a massive leap this offseason, because he can eat innings, 90 innings, 14 starts, 3.80 ERA. The dude struck out 119 versus 22 walks in 90 innings, 215 batting average against, elite stuff. I still want to see his changeup continue to come along. He's got the 2-seamer, 4-seamer, the sweeper, slider, whatever it is. If he can develop a key, a consistent swing and miss changeup to right-handed hitters, he could be a bona fide, no doubt, number 1. But either way, Norby's my number 2 for sure. As we continue on this list. So right now, Braden Burris, Ethan Norby. Again, we are running down guys we want to see return for this ECU core. So I'll kick it back to you, Philip. Who's next on the list?
Oh, this is so tough. I'm at the corners of the infield right now, and I'm, the go-to easy answer is Irby, but I think I'm going to go Colby Wallace. And look, he wasn't phenomenal on the mound this year. We didn't see him a lot, but you know what? His sophomore year, we didn't see a lot of Zach Agnos on the mound, and we didn't see a lot of Alec Burleson on the mound. And look what they were able to do once they had kind of that year of, hey, I was a pitcher, not just used once or twice like Wallace was last year, but used a handful of times. Now let me get a full, true offseason with AK to develop that. I just think the ability to bring a position player in is so key. On top of that, he can, he's not the best hitter in the lineup, but he's pretty solid. He's a good defender. So I just think Colby's another one of those guys. He's a culture guy. I think they really like him, and so I know that a lot of people are probably screaming Irby at their radio, or maybe even another pitcher like a Sean Jenkins. But I'm going to go with Colby Wallace just because of the versatility, and I think that we can do a lot of special things with him. Last time we had a third baseman that could also pitch. He got a save last night for the Colorado Rockies, the 4th of his career.
I like that pick as well because, and look, he's best as a third baseman. As you said, he can pitch, and if needed, he can play some first. I mean, he started some games at first this year as well, and I just think Colby is a team guy and a guy who is vital to the culture. Really, like, how many plays did he make defensively that I think a lot of third basemen just don't make? And so I think if we could calculate like a true college war based on defensive ratings, I think Colby Wallace would be even more valuable than people realize. But I don't know how accurate the college war system is. I know it's out there somewhere, but like I think it's more based on overall offensive numbers. All right, I'm gonna go Austin Irby. If you would have asked me this question a month ago, he probably would have been further down the list. The thing with Irby is he showed this past weekend he can deliver on a big stage in the regional. 4 for 5, 3 for 5, 2 for 4, 1 for 3 were his totals. He had 3 home runs. He had he scored 8 runs. He drove in 7. I mean, he was just incredible. So Austin Irby, plus he played a really good first base. Now the thing I'm hearing with Irby is from his people, I don't think he wants to leave ECU. Now, is he definitely getting courted? Certainly. You don't have that sort of postseason and not get courted. But he doesn't want to leave ECU. I think he really wants to show his position flexibility to increase his draft stock. Because Philip, like with Irby, or with any first baseman, you have to be able to hit, and you have to be able to hit for power. And yes, he's an above-average first baseman, I would say. But, like, if you could take those batting numbers and play a different position, that just increases your value twofold. So I think ECU is going to have to find a way to maybe show off his position versatility for scouts, especially going into his sophomore, junior seasons. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I think he's going to have to work at it. I think ECU is going to have to work at it. But you got to do, in this era, you got to do what you can to help out these guys. But I think that's vital to keep it awesome.
I think it is. I think, like you said, he's a great hitter. And also the reason why Igo just said what he said, everybody, is because you can teach anyone to play first base, theoretically. You think of Bryce Harper, Carter Cunningham, Jackie Robinson. The list goes on and on of guys who did not start their career as first baseman that became a first baseman. And you want to recruit a guy who can play something else as well.
All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll continue on this list. We're basically having a draft of what key guys we want to see ECU continue to keep next year. More names that we'll get into. How about a Sean Jenkins? Where does he fit into the mix? Brad Pruitt. You also have Bradley Zayak, who just had a phenomenal pitching performance. Alex Peltier, Walker Barron, Jack Herring had a great finish to the end season. And then Braxton Trammell, without his injury, he could easily be at the top of this list. We'll get a break in. We'll continue on Hoist the Colors, looking at the 2026 ECU baseball roster after this.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Are you ready to tackle those yard and garden projects? Come by East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, your local Coyote dealer, and check out their great selection of residential and commercial Coyote tractors. From zero-turn mowers to compact tractors to skid steer loaders, they've got you covered. Some with 0% financing for qualified buyers. Stop by your hometown Coyote dealer, East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, across from the Pitt County Fairgrounds, or online at ectfleet.com. East Carolina Tractor and Fleet. We dig dirt.
Tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
Oh, hey, welcome back. You got here just in time. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, Tuesday, June 3rd edition of the show. Again, big news in case you missed it. Lance Williams, ECU pitcher, in the transfer portal. We discussed that segment 1. we're taking a look at the 2026 roster, and we're having a draft, an unofficial draft of players that ECU ideally needs to keep heading into 2026 as they look to build this core. Philip Pilkington producing today. We have thus far, as a recap, we have drafted in order Braden Burris, Ethan Norby, Colby Wallace, and Austin Irby. The Pirates keep those 4 guys, are in pretty good shape. So we'll go back to Philip here. Pick number 5. Who you got?
Regardless of who's on the mound, they trust Walker Barron back there. CG put more faith in him as a freshman than he ever has a freshman catcher. You saw that when he DH'd McChrystal because he knew if something happened last year to J-Dub, he's going to have to go in. He caught damn near every inning this year. He's a stud. Give me Walker Barron.
Philip going with the Walker Barron pick. I do hope, we talked about this on the podcast last night, they have got to find somebody they trust to be the backup, though, just to give him a break. Because last year, I haven't done the official math, but like the amount of innings ECU played versus what he called, it had to be like 97% of the innings. It was kind of ridiculous. I'm going to go Sean Jenkins with the next pick. I think you got to have a guy with that upside back, ideally. And look, we have to remember the guy was 17 for the vast majority of the season. I think the leap he can make with every situation he was put in, starter, reliever, big games, championship games, the stuff is there. I do want to see him get more consistent with the third pitch. Like the fastball and slider are obviously really good. And if he can get the splitter back and develop some more consistency with his off speed, I think he can just make a huge leap. Because he throws strikes. He has good stuff. How does he now miss more bats? And I think he can figure that out this offseason. I think he can make a massive leap next year. Sean Jenkins is my 6th pick. And that gives us Jenkins and Norby in the rotation potentially. Philip, back to you for pick number 7.
I'm going to go Braxton Trammell. He can play both the infield and the outfield. He came in as an infielder. He looked really good in the outfield. Unfortunately, he was in the infield when he got hurt. But this guy he's got a little pop, but hits good for average. Just thinks a good glue guy. And like you said, you never know this day and time how things are going to play out in the era of the transfer portal, where you're going to need guys and whether or not guys are going to pan out defensively. And when you have a guy you trust, both infield and outfield, you've got to look at him.
Yeah, Trammell is, in limited action, 345, OPS over 1,000, power. He did not walk a lot. I want to see him increase his pitch selection next year, but big time power and, as you said, versatility. And I think you definitely find a spot for that bat. Switch hitter too. All right, next up for me, I'm torn on this one. I want to go pitching again. I'm torn on Brad
to go with.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Zach just pitched the game of his life, and Pruitt struggled in the regional. But if you can get Brad Pruitt back, I think I'm going Brad Pruitt because, again, first year really pitching this big of a workload. He was thrust into big spots. He can start. He can relieve. He closed 3 games, got saves in 3 games, I should say. 224 batting average against, 70 strikeouts in 66 innings against 34 walks. Like, yes, there were some blow-ups, but the overall body of work for Brad Pruitt, if he can come back, I would love to see it. So I'm going to go Brad Pruitt.
I'm
back
with
to
you.
Philip.
Yeah, he was more consistent than Zayak, but I think you were right to debate the two, and that's why I'm going to go with Zayak next. Look, he was a freshman. He was thrown into a lot of situations. Some he succeeded, some he did not, but he just threw in the biggest moment of his life. And, could we say he was perfect? I would say he was darn close to it.
Yeah, so you going Zayak?
Yeah, I'm going Zayak.
Okay, Zayak. I'm trying to keep track of our picks. 3, 6, 9. All right, so that's 9 picks. Again, thus far we have taken Braden Burris, Ethan Norby, Colby Wallace, Austin Irby, Walker Barron, Sean Jenkins, Braxton Trammell, Brad Pruitt, Bradley Zayak. And what are the odds of keeping all these guys? I don't know, but that's a pretty good first 9. All right, back to me. I'm gonna go again with Jack Herring. A guy that I don't think I would have picked a month ago. Another switch hitter. Like, I don't think Jack Herring is anywhere near the most talented guy on the team, but I like him because A, he's a switch hitter. B, he can play outfield at a decent level. He can DH if needed, so he can fill multiple roles there. And he just provides quality at bats. He fouls off a lot of pitches. He sees a lot of pitches. He's a guy that I think just will add, ideally he's probably more of a 7, 8, 9 guy, but I'm fine with him in the 2-hole for the time being. And he just adds length to your lineup and a tough at bat. So I'm going to go Jack Harry, and I think he also kind of emerge as a little bit of a leader down the stretch here. All right, we'll make 2 more picks if we can. Philip, who you got next?
Yeah, I think we've kind of hit the core group, and now I'm going to go with a guy that did not pitch this year, but I think the upside's there, and that's Brett Antolik. He was highly recruited coming out of high school. There's a reason he went to Texas A&M. He would be draft eligible after next year, but next year would only count as his sophomore year. I mean, I'm guessing they're going to give him a medical red shirt. He didn't even dress. So I'm going to go with Brett Antolik just because I think we need to add some pitching to this, and I think we've kind of hit on the core group of, guys. I guess the only other really position player he was even really considering there, it was maybe, Peltier or Vergara, but I'm going to go with him. We need some more arms, baby.
Brett Antolik, good pick. Honestly, forgot about him in my draft process, but good stab. As Johnny Robertson says, how about Antolik? Doesn't he have Friday guy potential? He has potential. I just don't know what's going on with this hip deal. I mean, he had surgery to fix it. Then he had some sort of setback that he still felt it when he was throwing bullpen. So, they got to get that figured out. I'm not going to draft Ryan Towers with my last pick, but he's another guy. What is his health situation? I assume those 2 guys will be back next year, but I don't really know what their health status is. Certainly the upside for Antolik is absolutely there. All right,
let me specify. I'm saying if he is healthy. If he's healthy. Okay. If we can know, then I would have drafted somebody else. But, yeah, I think you got to take him. If you think he can be semi-healthy, yeah.
All right, next pick, last pick, because I don't even know if there's anybody else that you have to have. I think Alex Peltier you got to have him on the list after what he did in the regional. Look, the swing and miss is a concern, but I thought when he was able to kind of play more freely at the plate, as we saw in the regional at times, he's got a pretty good swing. He's got a good swing path. It's just about making contact for him. I think defensively, he's really good. He can steal bases, 9 of 11 on stolen bases. He profiles as a center fielder. He's got a good arm. He's got tools, and he can add 10, 15 pounds. I like Peltier's overall upside. It's just, can he fix the swing and miss, or at least limit it to the point where he can make a bit more contact? 47 strikeouts in 147 at-bats. I mean, that is a high strikeout ratio. So they got to figure out a way to make more contact. So I'll go Peltier. So there's our draft, Philip. Braden Burris, Ethan Norby, Colby Wallace, Austin Irby, Walker Barron, Sean Jenkins, Braxton Trammell, Brad Pruitt, Bradley Zayak, Jack Herring, Brett Antolik, Alex Peltier. If that is your core group going in the next year, I think you feel really good. The question is it going to be your core group? And that we just won't know until the portal closes on July 1st. We only got a month to go, Philip. Can we get there?
I know, right? We need Christopher Walken to come give us the remote he gave Adam Sandler and Click, so we can fast forward to July 1st, I guess.
Yeah, maybe we can find it somewhere. All right,
we need to find a COVID year for Jake Hunter. That's the other thing we need to do.
Yeah. Maybe get another medical for Riley Johnson as well. See if we can figure it out.
I would love it, but I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if his body will let him.
I know. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, we'll continue to talk more ECU baseball into 2026 and beyond with the portal, all that sort of stuff in the days ahead. We'll continue to react to the portal and what additions we want to see ECU make. We'll get more into that conversation going forward as well. All right, on the other side, we're going to flip gears and talk football. Corey Smith of Pack Pride joins us to preview NC State ECU in our first opponent preview of 2025. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Jim Wells again with Wells Roofing and Gutters here in the beautiful community of Lindale, Bedford. At Wells Roofing and Gutters, we believe in quality first. And that's why we use Certainty shingles, which are manufactured in Oxford, North Carolina, a local company. In the event you ever do have a claim or a problem with your roof system, they're local and they come and take care of us in a timely manner. We could leave off some accessories and we could certainly save money, but we believe at Wells Roofing and Gutters in installing the correct way per manufacturer requirements, and we warranty your roof both in-house and also with our supplier who is CertainTeed. For a job Wells done, no shortcuts taken, and a good quality job on your home, give us a call today, 252-227-8403. We also offer financing, 12 months, no interest, no payments.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Remember, get the podcast of the show on the IBX Media app or where you get your podcasts.
Got it. You don't have to tell me twice. I remember it exactly.
Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors. It is time to start to look ahead to football season as we wrap up baseball and talk about the football season to come with our opponent previews. And we'll start with the NC State Wolfpack, as that's who East Carolina we'll open the season with. We've got Corey Smith of Pack Pride, frequent guest on Hoist the Colors. And it seems like ECU, NC State, we're getting a lot of crossover these days. And we get it again to open the 2025 season. Before we start that, Corey, first off, welcome back, man. And is NC State a basketball school again with the Will Wade, man? He's making some moves. So how have you been able to balance that, football and baseball?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me back on, first of all. Yeah, it's been a little wild recently. I mean, you've seen the shift, obviously. I mean, you know, when you make a big-time hire like Will Wade, the fan base gets behind it like they have. It's been a little wild around here, a little different type of offseason. I mean, we're actually paying attention to high school recruiting again, which is crazy. But, yeah, it's, you know, as far as NC State is concerned, I don't know if you're ever going to completely take away the football aspect, but you know, it's going to take a better season for Dave Jordan this upcoming season for him to kind of get back in the headlines, which is wild to say after, you know, the last several years of it being mostly dominated the offseason by football.
Yeah, well, let's start there, man. I mean, I feel like obviously disappointing season for NC State, 6 wins and losing to East Carolina in the bowl. Like, how much is the pressure on Dave? What, year 13 now he's going into? I mean, that is a long time to spend at one school in this era of college athletics. So how would you kind of gauge the temperature and kind of the vibe around the program right now for NC State?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been hotter. I mean, you know, you can go back to the end of the, I think, like 2016 season. And obviously, you know, after the 2019 season, there was a lot of talk going into both of those upcoming years of like, all right, if they don't perform the way that you expect, then, you know, he's really going to be on the hot seat at that point. This offseason's been a little different because not a ton has changed in terms of, the talent that you brought in, particularly on the defensive side of the football. Offense, it was a lot about retaining guys, which I'm sure we'll get into in just a second. But changing the change in the defensive coordinator was not by choice. Tony Gibson taking over at Marshall, and then on the offensive side of the football, there needed to be a shift. They keep Kurt Roper and move him into that role. But is there a ton of change compared to what you had last season? Because he was helping with play calling last year. And you go into this year, it's like, all right, yes, he was the quarterback's coach last year, but how much different is that right now? So we'll see. But I think as far as, the temperature and where things are, yeah, I think it's as hot as it's ever been going into this upcoming season, given what you're coming off of and what you've been able to do this offseason, especially with ECU starting off the year.
Visiting with Corey Smith of Pack Pride, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, just like Hoist the Colors. And Corey, you at least got to feel good about the top guys on offense if you're NC State. Obviously, C.J. Bailey coming back, Hollywood Smothers, Justin Jolie. So, I would imagine they're pretty high on that side of the ball going into the year.
Yeah, C.J. Bailey coming back was massive for NC State. They didn't expect him to have the type of role he did this past season, so that's kind of a little bit of a mulligan that Dave Doeren gets last season was, C.J. Bailey had to come in early on last season and be the guy. You go back to that Clemson game, week 4, he's the starter going into Death Valley. Obviously, things didn't go the way they wanted to, but that was not what you anticipated going into the year. For him to progress the way that he did, NC State really needs him to elevate his game this upcoming year and become that guy that he has a chance to be. And then Hollywood Smothers in the backfield right along with him. He was another guy that was a redshirt freshman last year that progressed really well down the stretch last season. Still don't understand why he didn't play the entire third quarter against ECU in the Military Bowl, but that's for a different discussion. But yeah, those two being in the backfield along with Justin Jolie, along with guys like Noah Rogers, that can progress. You lose Kevin Concepcion in the offseason. He goes to Texas A&M, but it did feel like they were kind of force-feeding him last season, and he wasn't the guy that they needed him to be last season. So moving on from him, probably not the worst idea in the world. They need to figure out where they are with the rest of the receiving room and the slot receivers, but having those two key guys back was massive. The question mark obviously becomes, how good is the offensive line going into the season? Because it was good last season, but in the run game, it was not as good as you needed it to be. You go back to last year, and it seems like it's a great notion to say, oh, well, Hollywood Smothers was top 10 in the country in yards after contact, but also he generated over 70% of his yards after contact when he was running the football. That's not a sign that's not a sign of a good offensive line that's blocking for you and getting you opportunities to run the football. So I do feel like that needed to be addressed this offseason. They get not only some guys to fill the gaps from players that you lost, like Anthony Belton and obviously Tim McKay from this past offseason, Zeke Correll, but they also added a little bit of depth. So those are some battles that still haven't kind of figured themselves out until the fall camp begins.
You mentioned new OC, although Kurt Roper's been there a while with Robert and I, being let go. Any sense on what's going to be different? Will they try to play faster? Is that just kind of a wait and see right now with, the season coming up?
Yeah, I don't think you could get any slower than NC State was this past season. And you go back to the previous season, they actually had to start going to, a traditional huddle in between each snap because they had to go back to Brennan Armstrong late in the season, trying to figure something else out. 2 years ago, they were one of the slowest tempo teams down the stretch, and then that didn't change this past season. They were outside of the top 100 in terms of tempo this past season. So yes, they want to significantly uptick the tempo this coming up season. But that's something that Kurt Roper has wanted to do throughout his time as an offensive coordinator. He was able to do it at Duke for multiple years, and then he goes to South Carolina, went to a couple other places, and he wasn't able to really implement that. So I'm interested to see what they do this season because that's something that he's emphasized multiple times. The question mark is whether or not Dave Doeren is completely on board with that. You make this guy your offensive coordinator because of the relationships he has not only with C.J. Bailey but the rest of the players. He was previously the running backs coach, so he knows a couple of guys in that room. He's been able to help in multiple different areas of the offense. Now it's, all right, you give him the keys to this offense. are you going to let him actually drive the car too?
Defensively, Tony Gibson was such a great coordinator. Obviously, losing him to be the head coach of Marshall. DJ Elliott, the replacement. Was that a surprise hire at all, or kind of what's been the take on that, and any indication on what the changes will be on that side of the ball as well, with some personnel changes on the way?
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise hire. I don't think anybody saw a guy that's been out of college football, out of football in general for over a year, taking over as defensive coordinator. But the thing that Dave Doran has said multiple times this offseason was, I wanted a guy that wants to move his way back up. I wanted a guy that isn't comfortable where he was previously, isn't coming into this role as like, okay, I'm going to keep this going and then move on to my next spot. And I don't think you could have gotten a better example of that than DJ Elliott. He's had a couple stops where he didn't really get a chance to actually implement his system. You think back to Temple 3 years ago, he goes into that role, and they had a significant uptick in terms of sack rates, in terms of pressure rates, and that helped in a big way, but they weren't able to really implement what he wanted to do. He takes a couple players from Temple this past season over to NC State. I got a couple guys that he actually had close relationships with to be able to be kind of leaders on this system. The question mark is, how much are they going to actually move away from the 3-3-5? Because that's what you've developed. That's what you've worked towards, recruited towards over the last several years. They've made a real emphasis on trying to go get those stand-up defensive end / linebacker type edge players to be able to kind of move a little bit to the 3-4 system, and at times put those guys in 4-down line schemes as well. But I'm interested to see how much they're going to actually be able to go to that, given the fact that a lot of the linebackers from this past season, they just weren't really up to snuff. They got back guys like Caden Fordham, who went down with an injury. Sean Brown was good, but not great this past season. He led the team in tackles, but there was a lot of tackles that he left on the table. So that's a big question mark to me, is still the middle of his defense and how quickly DJ Elliott can help that side progress.
Corey Smith with us from Pack Pride. And Corey, you mentioned some of that personnel. I just remember after the bowl and after they decided not to retain the interim DC at the time, like so many of the secondary members left that were pretty big contributors. So what do they do to backfill those, or are they relying on guys to progress there? How do they try to address that?
Yeah, I mean, you lose a couple of those guys. One goes to LSU, one goes to South Carolina, and it was a really big blow. A couple of the guys that were down with injuries previous seasons too also left the system, so you're left with needing to replace the entire defensive backfield. Like I mentioned, they got Jamel Johnson, a guy from Temple. They really liked. They also got Jaron Sensabaugh from Mizzou, that was a true freshman last year, didn't play, so he's going to be a redshirt freshman this upcoming season, a kid they really liked. And then on the defensive backfield, I take that back. They also got Devon Marshall back too, that they feel really good about at the cornerback position. All those guys were corners. And then the defensive backfield, J.J. Johnson, not to be confused with Jamel Johnson or J.J., but J.J. Johnson from Georgia State that comes over to NC State, a guy that's a veteran, a little bit undersized at the safety position, but somebody they really like at that spot, and they've talked a lot about him. That's another question mark right now is who's going to be that second safety right now for NC State. They really liked a couple guys at those spots, but that's still going to be a battle that goes into fall camp that they're still trying to figure out. So, yeah, there's a couple guys they've added, but there's still some question marks of not only the guys at the top of the depth chart, but also right now the depth pieces too.
Corey, the schedule's interesting, man. Obviously, the opener with ECU, which I think State opened as around a 2-touchdown favorite. The lines come down a little bit, but I don't think there's many games that you say are like automatic losses, if any. Like obviously at Notre Dame's going to be tough, at Miami maybe, but there's also not a lot of easy wins. So I don't know. I feel like this thing could go either way. You do have Campbell on October, which should be a W, but kind of how are State fans feeling going into the year? And maybe it's a good thing, because I feel like when State has high expectations, sometimes they don't live up to those, versus when they're under the radar, they're actually pretty dang good. So maybe this could be a surprise year. I don't know. How are you feeling about the schedule?
Yeah, you're going to need another Dave Dorn masterclass of actually overachieving this season. Last year it's interesting because last year the expectations were through the roof, like you said, and you know it's the same thing as the Devin Leary season back in 2022, I believe it was, where you go into the ECU game and the thought process was this is a top 15 team in the country. Devin Leary didn't live up to expectations early on, and he ended up with an injury, and that kind of opened the door for them to be able to finish strong, or finish and go into the next season trying to figure things out. This offseason is a little bit different. Like I said, there's a lot of thoughts of like, hey, this offense could be good enough, but the defense still has to figure things out. But when you look at the schedule, yeah, there's a lot of 50-50 games on there. I mean, ECU is a 50-50 game, I would say, right now, because given where ECU is right now, if they can figure things out with some, you've talked about it multiple times, they can figure some things out from the guys that they've got in the transfer portal, as well as some younger players that need to step up in crucial roles. They could be a very good team going into that opening season matchup. And then you have Virginia coming into town. You go to Wake Forest. You go to Duke. You open the ACC slate. Virginia actually is not an ACC game, which is weird to even say. But the Wake Forest and Duke games on the road to kind of open up the ACC slate, neither one of those are easy. Virginia Tech, we don't know what is going to happen with that team because I believe Drones is down for the season, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. You go into Notre Dame, you go into Pittsburgh. The end of the season, you have 3 of the last 4 at home, but Georgia Tech is not easy. Florida State, we don't know where they're going to be. You go on the road to Miami. You have UNC, which if Bill Belichick figures things out in year 1, that could be a difficult game too. So, I think Vegas has it right. Right now, 6.5 wins is probably the over under for NC State, and getting there is not going to be easy, first of all. But if you don't get there, if you don't get to 7 wins with a win over UNC or a loss to ECU, there could be serious talks about where NC State is going into the offseason and what the future looked like for Dave Dorn.
All right, final thing for you, Corey Smith from Pack Pride with us. What is if you had to say like one thing absolutely has to go right, this has to go right for NC State to overachieve, maybe get 7, 8, 9 wins, what would you say has to go right for the Wolfpack to get there?
CJ Bailey living up to expectations, Hollywood Smothers living up to expectations, Justin Jolie being one of the best tight ends in the country. I think he was rated as of right now like number 3 in most ranking projections as far as the tight end position is concerned. And then the offensive line has to be able to hold up, has to be able to live up to the expectations they've set this offseason. They've gotten a couple guys. So I would just say this offense, the easiest way to put it is this offense is going to need to win games in the 40s and potentially sometimes in the 50s. I think the defense can figure things out, but by the time the defense has a chance to figure things out, you're going to be going on the road to Notre Dame, on the road to Pittsburgh, on the road to Miami. So even if you figure things out through the first 6 games and you finally get on track defensively, those are not going to be easy matchups to go into, even if you feel like the defense is getting better. So this offense is just going to have to be clicking on all cylinders all season long in order for NC State to be able to win games and try to get to that 7-8 win mark and go into 2026 with a little bit of momentum.
He is Corey Smith. Check him out. PackPride.com does a great job, him and Michael Clark, for 24/7 Sports covering NC State. Corey, we appreciate it, man. I'm sure we'll be chatting again. August 28th will be here before we know it.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
He is Corey Smith again. Thanks to him. We'll be right back. This is Hoist the Colors.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your roof is a vital part of protecting your home and family from dangerous storms and hurricanes. At Assist Roofing, we install and maintain metal roofing that provides precise protection. Add value to your home while lowering utility costs with a fortified roof to last a lifetime. With 0% financing, grants, and Energy Star Green Roofing tax credit available. Call us to schedule a free consultation so you can weather any storm with confidence.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
If you are interested in living longer and living stronger, Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine is accepting new patients for a limited time. Finding a caring physician can be a challenge. Dr. Billy Smith is board certified in physical medicine and lifestyle medicine and has been practicing in the area for many years. Call for an appointment now to Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine, 252-364-1108 in Greenville. That number again is 252-364-1108.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-9. We're live with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, final segment here. Good to get in some football talk. Appreciate Corey Smith for joining and hopping on the show. We'll continue our football opponent previews with Chris Haymeyer, Campbell play-by-play voice on Thursday, so looking forward to that. We'll talk also with Jacob Starling, former ECU second baseman, tomorrow on the program. So looking forward to catching up with the Star Man. All right. Yesterday, we discussed the Kevin O'Sullivan situation. Philip Pilkington back with us, 94.3 The Game studio, producing today. Now, Kevin O'Sullivan did issue a statement. I could read the whole thing, but I don't really buy it, so you can go read it if you really want to on Florida Gators baseball account. You know, apologize to the site reps, to ECU, Fairfield, Coastal. I think this is a classic scenario of he apologized because he had to, because the AD requested or made him, Philip. So, I don't know, any reaction to the apology here from Kevin O'Sullivan?
Yeah, the AD made him, and the person who typed it up was probably some PR intern, and they slapped his name on it, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, until he doesn't even address in the apology the fact that he cussed out ECU players firsthand. So, I want him to call up, and this will never happen, but, I feel like he should reach out to ECU players directly and apologize to them for unprovoked cussing them out and telling Parker Bird to, shove the whiteboard where the sun don't shine. So, I just think it's, I think it's just, I don't think anybody's really a Kevin O'Sullivan fan. I think it is kind of despicable that there are some Florida fans out there that are still defending the guy just because I guess he's their coach. I don't know. They're saying that he had to be provoked or that he was provoked and the full story isn't out there. No, the full story is out there. Trust me. The full story is out there. Parker Bird's even gone on record verifying what I said on the show yesterday I had heard. So, look, I don't know, man. I do know the NCAA was meeting last night to decide if they were going to announce a suspension. I haven't seen anything yet, Philip, but I still feel like some sort of suspension here is warranted, even with the apology. I mean, you just can't let this go unpunished.
Yeah, a suspension and or a fine. I think there probably needs to be some financial repercussions. I know at college that's not something that happens a lot due to not being able to find players. But I'm okay with fining coaches. I think, it hits your bank account. That's even worse than a suspension because let's be honest. And I'm for suspension too, but who's Florida play in the first game next year? Does it really matter if Kevin O'Sullivan is managing against, I don't know, some random school, North Florida or whoever the hell they're going to play the first weekend? So I think you should be suspended for the first weekend of next year and fined, $50,000 or something.
We may touch on this more as the week goes on. We're about out of time. I do want to just read off quickly. The Super Regionals are set. It'll be Arizona at North Carolina, Miami at Louisville, Florida State at Oregon State, Coastal Carolina going to Auburn. And then you also have Murray State at Duke, which don't even get me started. West Virginia at LSU, Tennessee at Arkansas, and UTSA going to UCLA. So we'll get more into these matchups as the week progresses. And again, looking forward to another week of baseball, even though ECU is not included. So we're out of time on this show. Again, stay tuned. We'll continue to talk about the 2026 ECU baseball team. Looking forward to the future. If there's anything else that happens in the portal, we'll react to that as well. Again, Lance Williams, ECU pitcher, entering today. We hit that early in the show. If you missed any of it, check it out on our archives. Thanks again to Corey Smith. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 noon. We'll talk to you then.